A few days ago, one of our regular viewers asked why face readers don't collaborate on an international level. Well, my friend, we tried to make that happen with the amazing face reader Mia last week. Unfortunately, during our first recording, we encountered a video glitch. Courtesy my limited tech skills, we only managed to record for the first 7 minutes, and the remaining 53 or more minutes that we were there were lost. When we discovered this, both of us felt immense disappointment because it was such a good discussion on face reading that we had. However, as all good things take time and everything happens for a reason, our second shoot, that is this one, turned out to be even more interesting, informative, and fun. I had a fantastic conversation with Mia where we discussed her journey into face reading, tackle tough questions like whether face reading or facial traits can limit a person's potential, and we even delved into the concept of 5 elements, which is the loveliest part. The best part of that was that we also conducted a fun activity where we broke down relationships and a travel trip into 5 elements to make them easier to understand. Additionally, we also shared real-time face reading techniques through the second activity, which will be very helpful for you to enhance your learning on face reading. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this phenomenal episode with Mia where she shares her wisdom and experience. Hi guys, welcome to your face reading channel. In today's video, I have a very special guest. A guest who has learned face reading from Eric Stand-Up. A guest who is very special in a sense that she has been kind enough that she's recording this video for the very second time, because the first time that we have shot the video, somewhere there was this video glitch, and because of that, we are recording this for the second time, and I'm going to have interesting set of questions on face reading with her. I'm going to have tough questions with her. We have also planned a segment where we are going to be engaged in an activity where we are going to share with you techniques of face reading. And there is also an activity where we'll break down 5 elements in a relationship and in a trip. So there is a lot that is planned for you guys. And I welcome Mia. And Mia, how are you? And what's the feeling of not being recorded for the very first time that we did our shoot?
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome, awesome. So, Mia, the very first question that I want to have, and this is one of the questions that like forms a root of any people who start their journey into a specific field. So, what inspired you to get into face reading?
I think it started very, very young. So I was really little when I started observing faces, and when I thought, oh my God, what does this nose or these eyes or this mouth or whatever mean? And I was always curious. I always had a feeling that in itself is a language that I want to learn. And
Mhm.
I was trying to kind of figure out what that was, but obviously as a child of being 4 or 5, I didn't really know. My parents did tell me a little bit about, because they were very much into facial diagnosis in terms of health. So they
Mhm.
did tell me a little bit about how your health is related or can be seen also in the facial features. And this is something that I found really interesting. But yeah, as time went by, as a teenager or in my early 20s, I really, really wanted to know more about the personality and character. And that's when I started really digging deeper into that knowledge of learning about face reading from that perspective.
So from your childhood itself, this face reader was into you, and like later it manifested more into
Yeah.
how you have developed yourself. That is beautiful. So Mia, what is face reading, and what are the roots of face reading? How one can relate to face reading, or what are the traces that are there in the past? If you can just scrap along the history books of face reading.
Mhm. The fascinating thing about face reading, I think, is that there is a lot of different schools or a lot of countries where face reading was a big part of the culture of a knowledge of yeah, some say it's a science really, and in China it's something that can be traced to over 7,000 years ago, where the ancient positions at that time were fascinated with patterns in nature, that correlate to certain patterns that can be found in the face as well, which correlate to health issues, but also to personality traits. And by
Mhm.
connecting these things, they kind of really realize that there is so much we can read in someone's face and know who they are and what kind of path they're meant to lead and to go in life.
Hmm. In fact, I was also like reading one of the Chinese texts where it was written that it was started because maybe ancient doctors or philosophers were not allowed to touch females for the health diagnosis. And because of that, like doctors needed to equip themselves with other parts in the face. So thereby, like it went into the diagnosing part, and thereby later they also figured out that they can relate not only to diagnosing part but also to the personality traits that you're mentioning. That is wonderful, wonderful story on how face reading was discovered. And I believe it was used in the Greek culture, the Western face reading, where it was divided into somewhere there are like four categories where they delve face reading into. And sanguine, I think maybe you have also studied some sanguine and biblical. I'm not sure, I'm not very much into those four classes, but I think in the Western tradition, like they have been into like four aspects. Basically they are gauging the temperaments from the forehead part and thereby coming on the front face. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful thing, because all the great historical figures like Aristotle also was into face reading. So yeah, beautiful thing. So Mia, what are like if we get deeper into the Chinese face reading part, because both of us have studied more into that dimension. So what are five elements and how are they related to face reading?
Mm. Well, the five elements are the elements that we find in nature: water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, which in Chinese medicine we relate to a lot of different things. Our organs, there is a whole system in our body, right, connected to the five elements and how these correlate with organs, but it also correlates to patterns that we have in our face, or
Mhm.
we could also say it correlates to personality traits. So some people have a bit more of one element. For example, they have a lot of water element in their personality. Someone has more wood element or fire element. And the kind of the dance or the puzzle that each individual has is a combination of all of them, right?
Mhm.
And that's the
That's true.
fascinating thing to realize, okay, we have a way that we're meant to live life or be, and by
Mhm.
understanding face reading and the five elements, we stop judging ourselves for who we are, because usually people grow up and the parents don't understand the kids in terms of like who they are, and we look at other people through our own lens, right? But then and often what happens early in childhood is that someone around us gives us social cues and says, oh, you're supposed to be like that, or you're supposed to do this, or why don't you do that? And we kind of lose our own nature or our way of
Mhm.
expressing ourselves. And I think this is what is so beautiful about face reading. It's almost like it's teaching you your way back home to yourself, to knowing who you are, and that you can kind of embrace that rather than judge yourself
Mhm.
for it.
That's beautiful that you mentioned, because it is always like learning about your inner design, and the point that you mentioned that from childhood to very much, I think in 15ish or even 22ish, something like that age, we try to be what others wants us to be.
Yeah.
And in that process, like we go seeking life in a way where maybe our parents have a lot of influence, of course, but maybe like it's like maybe we are not able to guide ourselves in the direction, in the shape that we are meant to be. And that's one of the reasons possibly later in life, the purpose is something that comes to us or we discover, because then after 25 we are more into our element, and it's like your element kind of shapes you in the direction where you're meant to be. And that is a lovely, lovely insight. So for the viewers now, just for a better understanding, what we are going to do is we are going to divide five elements and understand it through the lens of relationship and a travel trip. Because the beauty of five elements is that it is so simple and it has such a great validity that you can learn by putting it into anything to everything. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope this is being recorded, and I'll just go on my system to just break down the five elements through relationship and a travel trip. So Mia, if you're able to see me, do let me know because I'm not able to see you right now. uh,
Mm-hmm. I can't see your screen yet, but
okay. Wait, I think there is some error because I have not started screen sharing.
yeah.
Okay, where should I go? Yeah, here we have the
Mhm.
screen, and I'm going to the activity section.
Yeah,
Awesome.
perfect.
Great.
So yeah,
So
I
yeah,
can see it.
so here we have we are going to divide like five elements through the prism of a relationship and a travel trip. It's going to be fun. And viewers, you can definitely comment in the video if you think that we have missed a certain step or there is something more that you can add into it. Just add in the comment box, right? So yeah, Mia, take the lead, and we are going to decide how we can put a side of relationship into these elements just for the better understanding of viewers.
Maybe you start with the travel trip and I with the relationships, or do you want to do that?
Awesome. That works. That works, Mia. You guide me. I'll just write what you're mentioning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when it comes to relationships, I would say maybe just to mention for those who don't know, these elements, they are also connected to phases of life, phases of a relationship, phases of a travel trip, right? So the water element is really the pre-birth or the phase where something is just about happening, right? And this could be the time where we're getting to know someone, where we're interested in someone. There's this mystery of not knowing whether we're gonna be with this person or not, or what's happening. So it's really the pre time before a relationship really kind of happens fully.
Awesome. So I'm putting in also ideation of thoughts of your to be partner.
Yes,
Getting
exactly.
to know someone. Okay,
Yes.
awesome. So I'm marching on to the wood element now. So what
Yeah.
is?
Would also in general, as in phases in life, we would say it's childhood, right? It's or when we look at nature, it's when the little plant pushes through the earth. And this is really when we have like a goal, we want to get to somewhere, we have an idea of something. So it could be in terms of relationships more like, oh, we see a person we really like and we want to be with this person.
Mhm. Maybe a propose day itself, sort of that we want to be with this guy or a girl, and it's maybe a proposal day for the
Yeah,
viewers.
yeah.
This is something that you can break it down to understand the aspect of wood element. It's the birth, it's the child that was there in the fetus and thereby manifesting outside the womb and spiraling out with his childlike energy. So yes, Mia, fire element.
Is really the peak of something. So it's the time where like the fire is burning, right? Where something is happening. We're fully excited. We are fully into something. The emotions are like going crazy. So I would say it's a time where we're really in love, right? Where it's this first phase of a relationship where we're totally in love with someone.
Mm-hmm. So do you want me to put like infatuation stage in wood
Yeah.
or fire?
That I would say that's more a fire thing.
Okay, awesome, great.
Yeah. And the earth element, it's more middle age when we look at it in general. And it's more this time where also when you think of a harvest, it's more when we harvest after the season, when we harvest the fruit and we look at what we have. And it's the same with a relationship. It's more the time where we can sit together and look maybe at the life we've spent together, or the years we've spent together, and kind of enjoy we reap the fruits of our relationship, right? Yeah, it's a time of enjoying what is and was.
Awesome. So I've mentioned that you can look at your marriage album maybe at the Earth Element
Yeah,
stage.
yeah, right,
And it's like
exactly.
maybe 5 years into the marriage.
Yeah,
For the viewers, for better understanding, we are assuming a normal phase of the relationship. This doesn't mean that a relationship only needs to turn out to be a marriage situation. It could
yes,
be pre-marriage, and it's like we are breaking this phase into 5 stages, which kind of goes through this certain set of cycles or a certain set of stage, right? So that is where you can apply your knowledge to. And yes, Mia, metal element.
yeah. That's more old age, right? When we look in general, it's also more the late afternoon evening phase where we kind of we reflect upon the day, we reflect upon something, and in a relationship, it's more also reflecting back at what was.
Hmm.
So it's
What
more of a
was sparky, huh?
slow
What was
phase.
more
Yeah,
sparky and now
yeah,
great was sparky. Maybe even if there is a breakup or a break off a relationship, it's like cutting off and feeding off. So that also can come under this bracket, right, Mia?
yeah, definitely.
Cutting off stage, maybe a breakup, which we don't want you guys to experience, but
Yeah,
it happens.
yeah,
Awesome. Breakup or maybe a death of a loved partner of yours. I think that can also come.
yeah. Or it could just be that the energy is a lot lower. People, when they're in an older phase of life, they don't have the same energy in the relationship, and they're more
Hmm.
maybe enjoying the time together, but looking at it like not being so much in it, but kind of reflecting upon their life together.
Hmm. Awesome. So, as Mia has broken down the elements into 5 categories and thereby relationship into them. So, the water phase, she has indicated it's more the ideation phase where you're getting to know someone. Wood is more that we mentioned, it could be that you want to be with that person. It's like a proposal day. Fire element is, of course, the infatuation phase where you feel a lot of spark. Maybe every moment you're thinking about your loved person. The earth element is more of sitting together and enjoy and reflecting on your marriage album or something that you have done together at later point in time. But still, you are attuned and you have a sense of gratefulness to the events that are going on. The metal element is, of course, the old age, the late evening phase, and it's kind of a cutting off phase where you are more like a metal and you want to like you don't have that much energy in a relationship to invest in. And this is a time more of a reflection, as Mia mentioned. So, Mia, if there is anything that I missed out, do share your thoughts.
No, that was perfect. That's exactly it.
Awesome. But I need your help breaking down travel trip because I was also thinking about relationship.
All right.
So water element could be the again the ideation phase when you are planning for a trip, or maybe you have watched a YouTube video to go to a certain
Yeah,
state to a
exactly.
certain state,
It can also
right?
be water is also daydreaming, visualizing, right?
Uh,
So
correct, correct,
yeah, it's this thing of like imagining something, wanting something, but it's still in this dreamy pre-birth state.
correct, correct, correct. So it's the state of being
Yeah,
and not doing, which will
yeah,
be the wood state.
yes,
So
correct.
yeah, it's like you have watched a video on YouTube, maybe just a casual stuff, and an idea struck that you need to go on a travel trip to Ladakh. So or in Mia's town, that also works. You
Yeah.
can definitely check out her website to to have a face reading session with her, and she has a lovely background that you can see, so that you can like identify, of course, the place where Mia lives in. The wood element in the travel trip would be booking tickets, Mia.
Yeah, definitely. It's really the active, pragmatic kind of state where we want to do things, plan things,
Mm.
organize things. So look at where we're gonna sleep, what we're gonna do, where we're gonna go, blah blah blah, all
Airbnb
of these
booking.
things. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So, wood is a stage which is like a birth stage where you're actually doing something.
Mhm.
And the beauty of these five elements to the viewers is that these elements can be mapped to your face and they reflect a certain set of potential in you. And each one of us has one or two of these elements in the primary proportions, the other are secondary and tertiary. But it's important that the phase that you are in or the element that you are in, if you're aware about that element and if you're aware about the family members even around you, you can have better relationships with them and better anything with them. So, yeah,
Yes.
let me just go to the fire element part. Fire element, Mia, actually going on the trip,
Yeah, it's
will
the
that?
peak experience. So it's really being on the trip, right? Enjoying
Mm,
it, taking it all in. It could also be the chaos, the energy of it, the yeah, being in the midst of the moment of the trip.
awesome. The energy of the trip. Maybe it's the first day of your trip and maybe a 7 days trip that you have planned, and you are on to the first day, excited about how your vacation is going to be, how your trip is going to be. And that is pretty much the fire phase. And you can also imagine the first 3 days when you have the most extensive events planned in your life. So that is what travel trip can be for describing the fire phase of that trip. The earth phase could be, I believe, out of the 7 days, if you're onto your fifth day, and maybe reflecting on some of the Instagram pictures that you have posted.
Exactly. And it's often
So,
like that when we're like, we have this drive. In fire, we're more like, whoa, we're all excited about what's happening. Earth is more like when you realize you're soon going home
grounded,
and you kind of,
correct.
you sit down in a cafe and you really enjoy and soak in like the
Mm,
space and the environment, and you enjoy your food and you realize, oh, I'm not going to eat this food like in a few days. So it's
great.
really enjoying that.
Yeah. I was on to one of the trips, and like in Masuri, just like 3 hours trip from my place, and there were like two friends, female friends of mine, and this like we were on to the end of the trip, and they were like shooting reels for the Instagram video, and that was literally the earth phase during the last of the trip that I had, and yeah, wonderful. Metal element is maybe coming back, Mia.
Yeah, I would say so. It's coming back and everything kind of slowed down, right? We were looking back at
Um,
what was, we're kind of digesting the trip in terms of like looking at it and reflecting on it. So that's what
it's the Sunday night, huh, Mia?
yeah.
Starting the
Yeah,
Monday,
yeah,
now
yeah.
it's the Sunday night reflection. So we can also break down this weekend thing where at the
Yeah.
start of Friday, or when we are
Yeah.
like sitting on Friday
Yeah.
and thinking that we are going to have lots of exciting things on the upcoming
Yeah.
weekend on Saturday. And Friday night can be your water phase, and your start of the day on Saturday could be wood. You're actually in that Saturday Sunday phase, like mid Sunday could be fire and evening could be earth, and then of
Yeah.
course the Sunday night could be the draining part of the restart of Monday.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. So I hope that viewers are going to enjoy this activity that we have done together. And the beauty of five elements is that you can break it down to anything.
Yes.
And with an expert like Mia, you are always going to learn a lot. And Mia, I have the other side of activity where I want you to share the techniques of face reading with the viewers, like
Mhm.
simple techniques that viewers can learn.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, you can also answer your question, can anyone read a face or not? Or is there something that you need to possess extra
Mhm.
to read faces? So, firstly, you can answer that question as to can anyone read a face? And then we'll start with the activity where you can share your insights on the three images
Mhm.
that I have. And then I'm also going to reflect on few of the faces so that viewers can maximize the use of this video.
Right. Yeah, can anyone be a face reader or read faces? I would say we're all intuitively face readers, right? There is, when we meet someone for the first time, we have like our first impression of the person. We have like a good feeling or a bad feeling, or we can sense if someone is well or not. So there is a lot of information we get from people, right? Just by seeing them. So everyone has it in them. It's just, do we listen to that or not? And then there's also the knowledge about it. So some people are really good at reading people, right? And you mentioned when we were talking earlier about that your intuition is something you use a lot. So there's a lot
That's
of
correct.
people, yeah, who are amazing when it comes to really feeling into their intuition.
Mhm.
And then there is also this whole science. It's I call it vocabulary, right? Face reading has a massive vocabulary, and understanding and knowing the vocabulary, learning about it is it's almost like it helps you, especially if you're, for example, an intuitive reader. If you can combine those two, that's amazing because you're like your intuition can be like, oh, is this, am I just feeling this or is this really true? And if you know the stuff behind it in terms of vocabulary, then
That's correct.
that's just amazing.
That's beautifully put.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. It's like it gives you that structure and kind of
Yeah.
give you that know-how that you're going the right direction, of course.
Yeah.
So adds as a great weapon, of course. So as Mia mentioned beautifully, that we all have that blessing in us where we have started reading. Maybe people from childhood, or there was some of the books I was reading. It was mentioned that babies are recognizing, like in like one half of the day they can relate more to the faces than to any other things, and they can be with their mothers from the very start, and they feel closest to them just by seeing their face. So our neuro engines are activated in such a way that we are meant to recognize faces way more than maybe remembering names. And that's why we also mentioned that I can recall that person's face, but I cannot recall their name, because we all are blessed with that engine in us to figure out how people can be. And we kind of take that clues from the people that we have seen in our life. And somewhere we tend to form an image of a person in like very few seconds that we are talking to them. It's like somewhere that call up or the experiences that you have garnered from a similar person like that do come in, and most of the time you will feel that you're true to your judgment. So as Mia mentioned, it's important that you listen to that inner voice. And in the last interview, which was not recorded, she mentioned a beautiful point where it's important that you have that thin line difference where you're not recording your triggers versus where you're meant to listen to your inner voice or intuition. So that is one of the lovely things which I'm going to probe in Mia for the next question set that I have. But here I'm pulling you back to the activity section, Mia, where I have three pictures for you, and you can share your insight on these pictures. And these pictures are taken courtesy Pexels and Pixabay.com, which is a platform for creatives like us to demonstrate their reading or to demonstrate their work for any purposes that they can use the pictures for. So yes, I'm also going to mention few of the points that you're giving us, Mia, just so that viewers have the know-how of what you're doing. Okay.
Mhm.
Great.
So, oh, what a good thing is when it comes to face reading and easy kind of steps is we would say the mouth and the eyes are really important in the face. And those two are things we should always look at. So they give us a lot of clues because those two have so many muscles there that change very fast. So they give us kind of also clues on um, a lot of things, but we can tell from the mouth or the eyes, and usually both, in what kind of state someone is in. In general, like micro mimic in terms of are the corners of the mouth turned downwards, are the eyes bright or not, are they, when we have fever for example, our eyes, the way they look change, right? So
Mm.
the eyes and the mouth change really fast in the face, so they're very important. That's one
Mm.
thing in terms of how they change. The other thing is, I would say just how features look. That's important. If we take the eyes, for example, this woman has quite nice big eyes, right? And someone who has relatively big eyes, they're open for communication. They want to communicate with you. They're interested in you. They're more curious. They're more kind of outgoing and like to know something about other people. They're not maybe so much in their own world trying to hide or not say everything. So big eyes are connected to the fire element and are connected to this curiosity and interest for people. That's one thing. Then we also have, she has relatively full lips as well, and lips are connected to the earth element. So and full lips really talk about someone who likes to communicate, likes to share, likes to be with people, and yeah, this relationships are important for them. And we also distinguish between the upper lip and the lower lip and the fullness of those two. So someone who has a thicker lower lip, the lower lip is connected to more the everyday material things, also like food or money or physical things, um, and any kind of pleasure in as such. And someone with a fuller lower lip, that's something that is important for them. The upper lip is more connected to emotions, more to the inner world, to ideation. And people with a full upper lip are more interested in talking about their feelings, talking about what's going on for them. So what I always find interesting is to, when couples come to me, is to check, okay, what is the shape of their lips? Because often, for example, a guy has their upper lip is maybe not as full as the one from the girl. And then communication might be a bit more difficult because she might want to
Mm.
share her emotions and him to share. And he's like, I just shared with you. I did this and this and this today, and da 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 da, and that's it. But that's not really what she wants, or the other way around. And so we can read a lot from just looking at the shape of the lips.
Mm. Beautiful. Oh, where it gone? Yes, here it is. Awesome. So, do you want me to go to the second picture now,
Yeah, we
Mia?
can do that. Yes.
Awesome. Oh, this guy, let me just cut down the image.
Yeah.
Or maybe no.
Yeah, that's
I
for
cannot,
fun. Yeah, we can do it like this.
because I'm not good at technology either. So I
uh,
won't write, guys. This you need to hear it out because I cannot
yeah,
write it on the page. Yes, Mia,
they
go
can
ahead.
write along if they want.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yeah, this guy always, so the first question we ask ourselves when we look at our faces, what can we see? What's prominent in the face? What kind of stands
Mhm.
out? And he definitely has a very strong straight hairline, and it kind of
Mhm.
dots in. That's very woody. That's connected to wood element.
Mhm.
He also has relatively strong eyebrows, which is also wood, and the
Mhm.
temples go in a little bit, which is also wood. So, and he looks like he's a muscular guy who likes to work out and everything. So we, this is also wood. So we have a very woody person in front of us.
Mhm.
That's something we can say here. And wood people, like we said in the phases, wood people who have a lot of wood in them. Wood is about breaking through, about setting goals, about reaching your goals,
Mhm.
about being pragmatic, about being organized. They want to do things. They're very much into the doing. They woody people are often entrepreneurs, or they're very ambitious, and we could say all of that about this guy.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So we have this wood guy, and now we have this lady, wherein I can mention few other things because I have that space. Yes, Mia.
Yeah, this one, she definitely has even fuller lips than the first one that we looked at. She's got full lips. She has a fleshy nose and a round kind of face. So there is a lot of earth. in her face, right? With all of these features, we can say there is a lot of earth. So she's an earthy person, which
Mm-hmm.
means relationships are a really big topic for her, or a really important part of her life. Relationships, family, food, all of these things that are connected to the earth element. Now, an
Awesome.
interesting thing maybe if we go back to what I just said with the mouth and the eyes that are so important in the face. If we look at her eyes and her mouth, how do they look? Do they, if we start with the eyes, are they happy? Are they vibrant? Are they sparky? Or is something missing? And
Mm-hmm.
this could be a temporary state, or it could be something that's been going on for a while, but she looks a little bit sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would say there's something kind of bothering her, or something that she's not getting, something maybe that her earth isn't getting enough of, or something that
Mm.
doesn't make her feel satisfied in the way that she needs, or her earth needs.
Awesome. So, just for the benefit of viewers, Mia, I'm going to add what you have said. As Mia mentioned about what vibrations you're feeling when you're seeing her eyes. And in Chinese face reading, when you look at the eyes and when you look at majorly the light that comes out from the eyes, it's the same as vibration and it's called as Shen. That is the reflection, the light of the eyes. And as Mia mentioned beautifully, that the light that you're seeing in her eyes versus the eyes that you have seen in the girl who was here, there is a different sense of reflection that you get. And as face reader, it's very important that once you have pictures, just as Mia mentioned, that if you're not getting into the temporary state only, you have to have lots of pictures to actually make into a face reading session. So you have like a person's maybe space when he or she was very happy or in a state where he was meant to be, and versus the current state, which of course could be different from the happy state if that person is not happy right now, or in a state where it can be maybe a relationship trouble, or it could be something else that is bothering that particular person. So as a face reader, it's important that uh, you have like decent set of pictures before you're getting into a face reading session. And as an initial journey into the face reading, it can so happen that you are jumping your guns out and maybe trying to oversmart or overkill yourself with one or two pictures, but it's always advisable if you can have a better set of pictures. It's just like having more data to actually resemble across the timelines that you're capturing your pictures upon. So that is very, very important. In fact, Mia, if I were to tell you one of the stories that I had with one of my clients, so she was from Australia and she was into a relationship, and she was finding it difficult, but she only gave me like two, three pictures or something like that. And she said that you need to read me. I'm saying that I cannot read you, but she forced me, and I told that maybe I can give it a try, I can give it a shot. But it turned out to be true. It turned out to be good enough that she's still in contact with me. But then, there are certain readings that can go haywire when you don't have enough pictures or enough data points. And it's always very, very important that you train yourself with more pictures. Of course, when you're into this spree where things are happening well, your readings are going right, uh, you definitely can make things out from one or two pictures, which definitely is possible, but it's always very, very important to have good enough set of pictures to kind of make your way out into a reading session, because somewhere you'll feel that you can make out, if you have like 10 to 12 pictures, you can make out like from one or two pictures, you can make the entire reading out of it, because it kind of connects to you much better than the other pictures, or the pictures that you're looking. Maybe the shapes are not indicated that well. Maybe the color of the eyes, maybe the color on the forehead, maybe the image itself is not that great, right? So you can have n number of things. So it's always better to have lots of pictures. But because these pictures are from Pixabay and Pexels.com, we cannot have lots of pictures. But yes, it's always advisable that you happen to have it. Sorry, Mia, if I have stretched for long.
No, no, that's it's very valuable, I think, and really important, right? These things.
Awesome. So this is my part now, and let me just share. So when I see her, the very first thing, there is a concept that Lillian Bridges have mentioned about the peach luck, and when you see the eyes, it's a very soft kind of reflection that you're getting from the eyes, right? So it is into a territory of maybe when you see her eyes intuitively, you will feel that she'll be very supportive into your life, right? And that's one of the important feelings or intuitive parts that you will get once you see a particular face. If you break the facial landscape into uh, three parts or two parts majorly, into the mountain parts, into the river parts, and the mountain parts are nothing but when face appears to be pretty bony or face appears pretty strong, right? River features are those when your face or the face itself appears quite soft, on the softer side, right? So when you see this particular lady, the kind of face that you can feel is more on the softer side, right? So that means that the river features are more into this lady's face, right? So when river features are more, that indicates that there can be strength in the emotions, right? So that is something which you can gauge. So as Mia mentioned that earth element you can spot with the fleshy parts that are there on the face, of course, with the softer eyes that she has. Coupled with that, if you break down the features into the mountain and river features, you can have like the softness on the face indicates that the river features are strong and there can be strength in her emotions and not so in being tough or stubborn about it. So that is one thing that you can gauge when you see this lady's face. Of course, supportive nature shines out. That is one of the important part. Of course, with that support, as Miyam mentioned, that earth element on her face is quite prominent, and earth is an archetype of mother, and it's like the mother earth who is believed to be showering her love and care to people around her. That makes her quite amiable even in her friendships. That makes her quite pure with respect to how she feels about helping others. Yes, there is this thing where even though there is a lot of support that you could see on her face also indicates that there has been emotional challenges that she has gone through. And you'll observe with people who have strong river features that even though their strength lies in being more emotional, in being more creative, their challenges will also be more emotional in nature, which means that it could be that because the cheek area that you see is quite full, it could mean that life will come easy for them with respect to their finances or the opportunities that they get. But it could be that in the aspect of love, they may not be that lucky. So it's important that you need to also see the partners that a person is involved with to actually gauge a picture of their relationship. But it is something that you can understand the landscape as to how you can start face reading. As Mia mentioned about the mouth, eyes, you can also break down into the facial landscape of river features, mountain features. Mountains are nothing but the strong part, the forehead, the nose, the chins, the jaws. The structure of the face is led on the mountain features, and the river features are something that exude fluids. So which means your eyes, right? Softer are the eyes. Your eyes exudes tears. Your ears exudes wax, right? So these are the softer features. So as you could see in her face, there is more softness, right? So this is the lady now. The very first thing, the very prominent feature that you could see. And in face reading, it's important that you go and mark the very features. Rose Roastery has emphasized on the importance of very features, which means what strikes the most, what strikes the first is something that is definitely influencing that person's personality. So the girl that you're seeing here, she has a very strong eyebrows, and we have discussed earlier also that if a person is bearing very thick eyebrows as she's in this particular case, it indicates how much driven she can be. It indicates how much maybe aggression she can put into what she wants to achieve. It indicates that her wood element, her liver chi, the liver life force is pretty strong. Of course, if you see the jawline also, it appears to be quite strong, and jaws indicates uh, the roots of the face. And roots of the face, if you imagine your face as a tree and you keep your jaws as root, right? So jaws represents how strongly principled or how strongly you're holding on to your ethics on. It doesn't necessarily mean that you would be absolutely spot on with your principles. It just means that you place enough strength into your element, into your life, and that also inspires them to be leader like. That also inspires them to be taking head on to the world. And with the combination that you are seeing here, that is the eyebrows coupled with a very strong jaws, it indicates that wood is playing a very important role into this person's life. And if you just feel the eyes, right, if you just feel the shen part of it, there is that fire into her personality. And when that fire coupled with strong wood is there, that person achieves significant feat in their career. It's like your fire and focus. Your wood can lead you to have strong focus towards what you want to achieve. Your fire is like a flame that lets you burn and go for that desire, go for that streak towards what you want to achieve. So this is one of the great traits to have, especially on the work domain, in the leading roles. But this definitely can also mean that to be in a relationship, there needs to be a person who is more uh, softer to kind of absorb her force and thereby let her be at the forefront. And that's why face reading can be very helpful in relationship, where you can balance people or make them aware about what their strengths are versus what their elemental challenges can be, so that they can have better relationships, right? So that is one of the things that you see. Of course, with the philtrum area being pretty spot on, it reflects how strong her water profile is and creativity part is. But I'll go on to the next person now. Yes. The very first thing that we can observe here is the eyebrows that are like kind of thinning at the end. It's like fire searing its mark. You can like burn a matchstick and fire it up, and like thinning eyebrows is something that you could see. And with the facial or with the eyes that you can spot, it again indicates how strong fire is into her personality. With the reflection that it is there, of course, it's better to have more pictures, because one person may be posing for that particular look that she's being carried out on. And that's why it's very important that you have pictures when a person is smiling, when a person is not smiling, versus a picture that is 3 years back or 4 years back, just to have a better and more concrete outlook about a person's inner design. But as for what we can see, the eyebrows are thinning, which means there is intense sense of fire energy, which means that she can come up with great ideas as fire does. But it can mean that following up is something that could be a challenge. But her the jaws part is quite significant, as you could see here. So that kind of adds on to or fills that element. Even on Elon Musk, if you see, there are like kind of thinning eyebrows these days, and her his jaw area is pretty well defined, which kind of lets him to stick on to extravagant things that he does, right? So it's important that you see a particular feature, but it's important that you have an holistic view and a complete view rather than depending on one trait. It's important that you are balancing the element with the other aspects and thereby evaluating as a complete picture, because your traits definitely tells a small story, but your full face tells the entire episode of your life. So that is very very important. So I hope that I have shared few of the things, and Mia has shared some extraordinary tips for us to learn face reading. And Mia, anything that you wish to add, you can add, and I'll march on to the next question if you have nothing to add.
Oh, I loved what you said. And I think the important thing is for anyone starting out is to realize that's what I love to say. Like you said it beautifully. It's really looking at the whole picture, right? I love to say face reading is like putting puzzle pieces together and seeing the
Mm,
whole piece because every feature is just one puzzle piece and we kind of need the full picture to see everything. And some of those puzzle pieces, they contradict each other and
that's
they
true.
modify each other. And so we might see someone has massive drive, but we could see that they are very, I don't know, when it comes to emotions, they feel powerless or they don't know how
Hmm.
to handle that or right. So really, really important to kind of learn that. And that kind of comes later, I think. This thing of really
Mm,
knowing your vocabularies and also using intuition, like you said, and seeing the whole picture to be able to really give someone a kind of the whole picture of it.
that's true. Beautiful. So, Mia, if let's say viewers want to reach out to you, so what would you advise them as to how can face reading help in relationship or a career or in their personal life? If you can just share some of the client stories that you happen to have.
Yeah. I've used it in all kinds of areas. So I've been part of interviews in companies where they had a hard time deciding who they want to pick. And this is a really, really interesting kind of way of using face reading because there's so much you can tell a person or tell the company about this person to have them put the person in the right place, in the right department with the right people, and to decide on the right person as well. So that's one thing. The other thing that I've worked with is situations where I don't know, mm, um, members of an executive board or one person who was part of a executive board, he didn't know whether or not to stay in the company, had a trouble with his boss.
Mm,
It was a very high position and very important position, and it meant a lot to him. But work was making him sick as well. It was really, really hard, really well paid, but really, really hard. And he came to me and we looked at his boss and him and the dynamic between the two. And um, it really, really helped him make the decision to
mm,
actually leave and get
mm,
out of the toxic situation he was in. And that literally changed his life. The company went bankrupt 2 years later, and he would have been in so much trouble if he had stayed there. So it really it can be extremely helpful, especially when someone's struggling in a pattern, in a
mm,
cycle where or in a situation where they find themselves in and they can't make a decision, and their
mm,
intuition is telling them one thing, but their rational mind is like, oh no, but you should stay, you have da 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 and the safety and the security and da 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 da, right? So we can have these inner struggles where we just don't
mm.
know what to decide on, and then having someone who doesn't know you but can read your facial features and maybe the features of the person involved, that can be just amazing in terms of helping you.
Beautiful. In fact, when you were saying that story, I reminded of one of my clients who was like, uh, who is currently in one of the roles in the security roles,
Mm.
a more background sort of role. But her face indicated a lot of fire element into her personality. And when I checked with her, she said that I'm not really enjoying my work, even if it's paying me well. So when a person has a lot of fire, as you know, that they want to be in the spotlight, coupled with a very strong metal she had, so that means that her face was basically indicating maybe in leading roles where she can have more spotlight, and she can be more it's just like when you're more in the spotlight, your people, your social, your surroundings kind of like acts as a fuel to kind of inspire you, and being in the background role in securities where even if you're being paid well, it is not fueling your element. So as Mia mentioned beautifully, that you can very much resonate and connect with your true calling, even if you're doing a certain thing and even if it is paying you well. It's important that you don't immediately leave it, but it's important that maybe you get yourself an inner design where you can have those activities or cultivation or those sorts of activities which kind of makes you happy, right? So that is very important, that you kind of give some fodder to the element that you're born with, because if you do that, it is definitely going to enable a lot of learning, wisdom, and more so meaning into your life, which is the most important part to live life, right? So that was very beautiful. And this is a reader to reader question, Mia. Can you share a client story or a strange incident or some incident where you're being tested as a reader?
Yeah, I remember a situation where I was just starting out and some friends I wasn't so close with, but they heard about me doing face reading and they were married, a couple, and the guy said, "Can you please read my wife? I can't, she's in such a state, like, I don't know how to handle her. I don't know what to do. She needs help. I need to understand her." And so I came in and I did a reading for her, and it came out that she was metal, like, and metal is all about like being a king, right? And she was
Mm-hmm.
metal, and she had fire as well in her facial features, but from the face forms, which is another Chinese kind of face reading school, or yeah, different yeah, school of face reading. There we also have something called the mountain face, and a mountain
Mm-hmm.
face is someone who can be extremely stubborn. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
a mountain doesn't move, right? And we can't move a
Mm-hmm.
mountain easily. So when they want something, it's like they're like, I'm going to do this, and there is no discussion. And this was really something that was very difficult for them in their marriage. And him understanding her mountain, and that she is like that, and there is a beauty in that, because each facial feature or each face form or every personality trait that we have has its like talents, but also maybe its shadow
Mm-hmm.
side or something that might in some way inhibit us or might create trouble for us or people around us. When we understand the full beauty of it as well, we can understand, okay, he understood that in times of stress or chaos or difficulty, she will really, that stubbornness will really help them
Mm-hmm.
through tough times. And that's where her strength comes out. And understanding that, yes, okay, sometimes that stubbornness is also a difficult one, but if we appreciate how much it can help in other situations as well, it is really, it kind of, it changes our perspective on things, and that's what happened as
Mm-hmm.
well. He finally understood that it wasn't just a negative trait, it was also so positive for her to have that.
Yeah, that's beautiful how metal can really give you direction towards where you want to be. It's just like the archetype that it has of a father who gives the direction
Yeah.
and kind of offers that wisdom. So beautiful story. So you were like being very much tested on that incident. So on that note, I want you to ask who was the first person that you read for, and maybe you have taken money from them also.
um, yeah, it was a friend of mine. She's fire element, and it was scary for me because, of course, when you do it for the first time,
Mm,
it's a little bit like, oh, what am I doing? Is she gonna take it in the right way? And she always had a bit of this difficulty of understanding. She's very loud and very
mhm,
expressive and very like fire and metal. Those two are really,
mhm,
really big in her. And she never understood why people sometimes felt a little bit intimidated by her. And
mhm,
me telling her about her metal and the king and the fire, wanting to be seen and being loud and like passionate when she's talking and
mm,
expressive. She finally like, oh, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. That's just me. And she
mm,
really learned to kind of embrace herself more in
mm,
that. So it was a wonderful experience. But yeah, when people set out, right, it's scary because you know the knowledge works and it's fascinating, but doing it then is a different, it's a different
mm.
thing, and getting the
That's
really good
that's
feedback is just beautiful.
Yeah, that's a memorable moment for any reader who is starting out. Their first reading is something which they want to put their heart into it. But yes, it's important that those very first feedbacks in your life as a reader, does play a huge role in terms of thinking whether you can be good into it. So, what would you advise to people who are maybe starting out and maybe their readings are not going the way they want, or maybe they have encountered a person in their life uh, wherein even if that person has those qualities or traits, but they have shared it in a way where maybe they have shared it in an outlandish manner and kind of immediately told that this is this, and
Yeah.
and kind of hurt them maybe at that point. So what would you suggest in that particular scenario where they are starting out as a reader, and if some readings are not going right, whether they should continue or not continue, if you can just render some advice for the beginners.
Well, a couple of things maybe. What I've learned is it's so important not to say anything before someone asks you. So
Mhm.
sometimes in the beginning, especially, I mean, we're all emotional beings, right? And in a social setting where someone annoys you, you could use face reading to get them back, and it's not a good idea, and it's not nice, and it should really not be done. And the other thing that I've noticed often at parties or places like that, that couples come and like the guy says, read my wife, or she says, read my husband. And I always say, look, I can't do that. Maybe they don't want to be read. Like they need to ask me if they want to be read. And I think that is really, really important. And another thing that really stayed with me, it's a story Eric Standup told about he lived with his teacher, his master in China for 6 years. He lived with him, and this guy, the waiting list was like it took you a year to get to the appointment. So, and Eric was allowed to sit there and watch the readings and take part. And one day, a guy came who was on the waiting list. He was waiting for a year to come to the face reader, and he came on the door and wanted to kind of come in, and the old master said, go, 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 go. I was like, what? Go. And Eric was shocked. He was totally shocked. And he was only allowed to ask questions once a week on a Sunday evening or Saturday night. I don't remember. And so next Sunday came round and he asked his master, he's like, why did you, how could you send this guy back? He was waiting for a year. And he said, his cup is full, so he's full. He can't
Mhm.
take my knowledge. He will just
Mhm.
react or criticize, or so
Mhm.
he needs to go empty himself and then come curious for what I've
Mhm.
got to tell him. And I think that, and I think this is a very powerful and important message. I've had that too. We know as face readers when someone comes and approaches you because they want to test you, or
Mhm.
they're curious and they really want to learn, and there is something
Mhm.
humble and something grateful that they have in their presence, right, for wanting to know more, rather than wanting to attack you and say, oh, that you could have said that to anyone, or you could. So there is a rule in face reading that we don't actually face read a person who comes with that kind of energy.
Mhm. Beautiful. It's just like a face reading chord, where it's like a book that is something that you can see on the cover, and only when you purchase it is when you are allowed to read.
Yeah.
So like I also follow this particular principle where it's very important that you read somebody who is actually willing to get a reading, rather than maybe a guest coming at your door and saying that, oh, face read for me. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It is like you're delving into the person's deeper inner self,
Mm,
and without their permission and without their will to do it.
mm,
I also believe that one should never do that, because a it's like it is like a disrespect to the face reading art itself,
mm,
and b it is also a disrespect maybe to the person who is seeking the reading, or who is, what say, technically seeking the reading but not seeking the
Yes,
reading.
exactly.
So that is very very important step, that whosoever you're reading for, maybe they are aware about the knowledge or wisdom, like bits of it that you are sharing, or they are, if they're not aware about the art and science of it, it's like they're aware about, like it can potentially bring out good in them once they are
Mhm.
into that session, right? So that is a very beautiful thing that you mentioned, Mia. And the last question that I have with you is that, does face reading limits a person basis on facial traits? And to clarify that question further for the viewers, sometimes it can so happen that one of your celebrities may possess a certain facial trait, and it can reflect a certain set of personality features out of them. And it can so happen that you compare your face after watching this session, or maybe you are aware about the face reading and you're watching that feature on your face, but you don't have it. So, does that limit a person's capability if that person doesn't bear that particular trait, or if a person is aware about their face? Does by any chance it limits a person's potential? Which is what I mean to ask here.
Mm. Yeah, I'd like to share maybe a story here. Connected to someone I know who's always wanted to have like a petite, a small nose, but she was born with a really big, kind of metally, strong, prominent nose. And she was always a leader. She was always like she had these really important jobs and was earning a lot of money and was very respected. But she had these role models, or also people in the media, that where she these women who have these beautiful noses, and she always wanted to have a beautiful, kind of nice nose that doesn't stick out. And she changed her nose, and she had a very difficult situation, because suddenly the position that she was in at work didn't work anymore. People didn't take
Mhm.
her in the same way. She couldn't, that authority that metal has didn't come through. She had it in her, but people weren't perceiving it. So there was a lot of clash situations with authorities at work, with her job. And so, what I want to say here is, yeah, maybe you love a feature of someone out there who has this kind of nose or these lips or this, but you're meant to have what you're meant to have. And there is actually a beauty, and there is talents behind this feature, and there is strength behind every feature. So it's really important to fully understand that and to embrace that as well, to really love that.
Beautiful. Just to add a little more into it, is that Mac Fulfer has mentioned in his book, like your face is a living map, and each feature on your face tells a story. And if you're aware about those trends, if you're aware about those traits, you can love yourself more, and you can embrace yourself more, because what one has is something which exemplifies their talents in their fields. But what you have is something which you can power yourself to achieve in your field, right? So let's say if Taylor Swift has a nose tip that goes horizontally, like slopey, right? And the philtrum is very strong, which makes her pretty creative. If you're enjoying her music and if you want to be like her, and if you're not a musician, that means maybe you may not have those particular traits. You may be having certain other traits into you, which kind of makes you the boss in what you are. We have seen the examples of Michael Jackson's transformation of his face, which was way different from what he originally was, where his nose was pretty full. Later it got pinched, it got having the upper slope. The face itself became more fiery from what was having strong enough earth and wood at the first place. So it kind of causes that internal conflict, causes that internal confusion within you. And thereby you kind of feel that this is not me. This is really not me. What you're going through when you make certain changes, it's important that you uh, get yourself attuned to the changes that you're making, what effects it is going to have on your personality. And there is this one book I am not remembering the name. It mentioned that what is outside is inside and what is inside is outside. So whatever reflections you're making or changes you're making outside, it is kind of changing your inner self. You don't know about it, you may not feel it. It may sound absolutely illogical, but that happens. That is something which has been mentioned in a lot of researches also. So it's important that you love your face, you love the features you have got, and thereby embrace your inner design in a way that can manifest the best version of yourself. So, yes, with that, I would say, Mia, if you want to share something, we have really learned a lot with you in this session. I'm extremely grateful that you have for the second time gave me time for the session, and we have benefited out of the learnings and the experiences that you have had over the years. Anything that you wish to say or any questions that you have, you can definitely ask with me.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. It was really wonderful. And I want to say to all of you out there who are listening or watching, it's just so fascinating to dive deeper into face reading, right? It's almost like opening a new world of just your life, your relationships, your career, everything can change and it can become so much better just because you start living in an alignment with yourself and you can
Mhm.
understand people around you so much better. So I really believe that the quality of your life equals the quality of your relationships, right? So
Beautiful.
face reading can really help you with that.
It's like the alignment that you were mentioning. I reminded of one story that I read somewhere. It's like little tweakings that you do through a face reading session, and thereby you align. It's just like when a water is flowing through a pipe, and at the hole there are some sticky patterns that are there, and through knowing your inner design, you can just remove that, and your water of life can just flow. It's just that removing that, you can enable that flow to move into your life. So that was beautiful. It's all about being aligned and knowing more about yourself. And Mia, do you want to share any references of books or how people can connect with you? You can, I'll definitely make sure to attach your links in the description.
Mhm.
If people want to reach out to you on any socials or your website, you can mention that. And yes, with that, we are going to close the session.
Yes, thank you very much. So yeah, probably my website is the best place to go. I'm not so much on socials, but
Mhm.
miamimica.com, my first,
Mhm.
my name, my full name, and that's it. They'll find the website and they can read more. And the books, I mean, there's so many books out there, right? So many really wonderful books. I love Jean Hayner's books and Lillian Bridges' books, and also Eric Standup. There's some wonderful, wonderful knowledge in there. So yeah, you should go out
Beautiful.
and like look at them. Yes.
Thank you so much once again, Mia. I wish you a great day. We have learned a lot. I hope the viewers have enjoyed this session. I have personally been pretty fortunate because this is the second time that I'm meeting you and having conversation with you. So thank you so much for that. Take care. Have a beautiful day and enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.